Greetings and welcome to this edition of
Positronic Hypersonic.
I'm Barry P. Cook, and I want to talk to you about the season finale of Loki, season 2, which it looks like it could also be a series finale, but I don't know. Anyway, the episode was called Glorious Purpose, and as it starts, Timely is about to go into the tunnel again, as Loki time slips into that moment, and after it happens again, meaning Timely dying, Loki tries to get Timely to go faster the next time. And then he tries to get him out there even sooner than he had previously by speeding up the events that originally led up to him going in there before realizing that he has to go back centuries in time so that he can spend those centuries learning everything that OB knows about temporal mechanics and how time works. And so he does this and then goes back to the moment Victor heads in to fix the loom. This time, Victor makes it to the launcher, launches the multiplier, and makes it back safely as the loom begins to accommodate the branches, but only temporarily, as there are still too many branches, as the multiverse is infinite. Loki realizes he needs to go back to stop Sylvie from killing He Who Remains, and he does this and tries to explain to her what happens if she kills him multiple times, but it doesn't work. He Who Remains eventually realizes Loki's been trying to stop her over and over again and freezes her so that he can talk with Loki again about why the loom exists, and he asks him to kill Sylvie. But Loki time slips back into himself the day he was taken by the TVA from season 1 and asks Mobius how he knows who to prune and who not to prune, I guess. And he's told that in order to know, you need to keep the big picture in mind and do what must be done. Just before the TVA is wiped out and Loki slips into the moment when he realized he could control his slipping and explains to Sylvie what he's been trying to do and that because it didn't work, she can't kill He Who Remains, and she realizes that he has to kill her. So she tells him she doesn't understand why he would do it because what he would be protecting is the sacred timeline and nothing else, which is flawed. But he indicates that he wants to save it and try to make it better. So he goes back again to the moment of trying to fix the loom and heads out himself in place of Victor, saying that he knows what he wants and what kind of god he needs to be. As he makes his way down the gangway, he takes on his godly appearance with the horns and everything, and he uses his magic to destroy the loom, which sends all the branches into free fall. He starts grabbing the individual branches one by one to weave them together, before ascending into the space where the loom used to be, at which point all the branches disappear from the chamber as Loki is still wrestling with them. He drags them all to a space outside time, seemingly, where he forms a throne and sits on it while holding all of the timelines and branches and continuing to bring them together, forming, and I'm going to say this wrong, Yggdrasil, the world tree in Norse mythology, around him. Later, at the once again functional TVA, Mobius and B-15 talk about trying to track down the variants of He Who Remains before Mobius announces he's leaving the TVA. OB muses over a box of TVA handbooks, and we see that in the past, a copy of the handbook was not left for Victor as a kid. Renslayer wakes up in a field, seemingly in the aftermath of the existence of the TVA, perhaps at the end of time. Mobius goes back on his own timeline and observes himself playing with his kids as Sylvie joins him, and they talk about how it's weird that Loki's not around and how she doesn't know what she's going to do now. And Mobius decides to just stay where he is for a bit, a few feet away from his own home and his kids and the other version of himself, and let some time pass. The show then closes on a close-up of Loki doing his thing, managing the timeline branches. So I really liked this episode. I think it was a great finale. It just turned Loki into a full-blown hero, and I think that was awesome because I love redemption stories, and I like Tom Hiddleston as this character, and I think it's just great for him as an actor that he got to go on this journey. And, you know, it's a sacrifice that Loki makes in the end. He's not going to, live a life and be out in the world, as it were, and be with his friends or whatever. He's just going to be sitting there as, I guess, the god of stories, managing the branches, and is in fact the world tree, apparently. And I think that's just epic and a great ending for the character. At least as far as this series goes, we may see the character again in the MCU, but I think this series is definitely done. I could be wrong. And, you know, I just think all the moments along the way where he just is shown over and over again, going the distance to try to save everything and everyone, and to be the hero and to be a good person, and his exasperation at not being able to do it, which finally leads him to say, you know what, I'm going to take the place of the loom and just do this thing. I just really thought that was awesome, and it's a great hero's journey for him, as I said. OB, of course, was excellent. You know, Kehu Kwan, if I'm saying his name correctly. Owen Wilson was great as Mobius. But that's really it. I don't have a lot more to say. There's probably more to say, but there's a lot of stuff about the comics that I don't know, I have to admit. And there are going to be things that other reviewers catch that I didn't. So you're going to want to see those videos as well. But from the perspective of a sort of dabbler in the comics, but a longtime fan of the MCU, this is what I thought of it, and I thought it was pretty good. So there you have it. All right, I'm going to get out of here. I'll be back with another video soon. Until I return, I wish you peace and long life.